1 2 0 1 2
Breakadawn, Breakadawn,
1 2 0 1 2
Breakadawn,
1 2 0 1 2.
Haze is one of the simplest carries in Deadlock and probably one of the most iconic characters in the game, but she's also one of the easiest to play Ron. I honestly ignored her for quite some time, but after recently picking her up again, let me share how she actually feels to play in the current state of Deadlock. So who is Haze? From my perspective, her whole kit is built around creating situations when the fight is unfair in your favor, usually against a single target. Haze is a great picker early on and transitions really well into full carry in the late game. Mid game can feel a bit boring sometimes, and you'll be farming and taking occasional skirmishes in lane and joining favorable fights around objectives, and this is still where you can find a solid impact. Again, the key is to look for good fights for yourself and not trying to force bad ones or balance messy situations. This often will lead to making things even worse. Similar to Wraith, try not to die too often. You lose farm every time, and that's important for Haze. She scales really well, so falling behind slows you down a lot. She has decent movement and her invisibility helps with positioning and rotations, but it's not as strong as what other heroes like Mina or Wraith have in terms of safety or escape. I'd say she's pretty versatile. She's not a tank, at least not until very late into the game, but even if your team already has a main carry like say Wraith, Warden or Geist, you can still play an important role. You can act as a disruptor and secondary damage dealer, focusing on taking down key targets in the enemy backline or creating pressure where it matters most. So let's quickly discuss what we have in her kit. First one is Sleep Dagger, and that's your main setup tool. You throw it hits the target, deals some damage, and puts them to sleep for a short time. The damage isn't really important, it's the control. The key detail here is that throwing the dagger doesn't break your invisibility, so most of the time you're using it while already in position. You hit the dagger, and now the enemy is basically paused for a moment. During that time you can choose a distance, fix your aim, or just make sure the fight starts clean. A lot of players instantly wake the target up, but you don't have to rush it. Use the time it gives you. Smoke Bomb is your invisibility and movement speed. This ability basically defines Haze and makes her different from other assassins in the game. It's all about creative thinking and setting things up properly. You want to use it for unexpected setups and catching enemies off guard, whether that's in lane, around objective, flanking during team fights, whatever. Yes, you can use it as an escape or just to rotate around the map or a position, but most of the time its real value comes from how you enter fights. In your gameplay, you want to come from angles people aren't watching, not just walk straight at them, and that's basically inbuilt utility that helps you to perform those tricks. One important note, you're not completely safe while invisible. If you get too close, enemies can still detect you, so be mindful about that. And also maxing this ability offers you Dispel Magic for free, which many people will find useful. Fixation is where your damage really comes from. Another character defining ability. Every time you hit the same target, you build extra damage on them. The longer you stay on one person, the stronger your damage gets, especially if you're hitting headshots. This is why Haze is so strong in 1v1 situations and against fragile characters on lane. This one is what makes Haze really dangerous in the late game, as well as oppressive during laning. You are quite squishy early on, but if your aim is on point, just don't let your enemies poke around. If you keep switching targets, your damage drops a lot. So once you commit to someone, you usually want to stay on them until the fight is over. Then there is your ultimate bullet dance. When you activate it, Haze automatically fires at enemies around here. This one got rebalanced recently, and now you have a focus cone that you need to aim. A lot of people say it gets worse, but in reality it just requires at least some effort from you. The upside is you can actually focus down the right target in a messy team fights instead of just hoping for the value. If you use it at the start of the fight or in bad position, you will usually get shut down pretty quickly. Players are aware of it, they can simply walk out of the area or use items like metal skin, so you need to keep that in mind when you're deciding when to commit. Because of that, your ultimate works much better when enemies are already distracted. You come in once cooldowns are used and attention is split, and that's when it actually does real damage. It also scales nicely because of fixation, which is why it stays viable even in the late game. Now let's talk about items for a bit. Here's my take on what you should consider buying while playing Haze. You start with base items that give you fire rate and a bit of sustain. Then upgrade your rapid rounds into Swift Striker and aim for your first 4.8k spike with extra ammo capacity to extend your continuous firing. Add a bit more sustain from these two, and if you feel like you need extra mobility, you can go for Stamina Mastery. In the mid game, you are hitting your Spirit Spike with items like Surge and Slowing Hacks. Surge works really well with your dagger, and Slowing Hacks helps prevent enemies from escaping your ultimate while also being very useful for your ambushes in general. Vampiric Burst becomes your main source of sustain at this stage, at least until you transition into Siphon Bullets later on. You can also pick up Toxic Bullets if you need anti-heal, along with any defensive items depending on the actual matchup. In the late game, you're mainly looking at 3 core items: Capacitor, Ricochet, and Silencer. Ricochet helps a lot with farming speed and helps to clear waves fast. From there you can adapt a bit. Silencer is great against ability heavy enemies, while Inhibitor is better if the enemy team has a ton of gun damage. Magnum is more of a situational option if enemies stack too many anti-gun items, letting you shift a bit more into Spirit, and that's pretty much solid default build path you can follow while playing Haze. And now how you actually play her. Early game, you're not very strong yet. Your damage is limited, so play slower most of the time. Focus on farm and positioning and only go for picks that clearly in your favor. If someone is out of position, you can punch them with the dagger and close range damage. And keep the cooldown in mind, don't waste it since it's a really important ability for early setups and escapes, either for you or your teammate. Mid game is where your kit starts to come together. You now have enough damage to actually kill targets if you catch them properly, so your gameplay becomes simple. Stay on the side lane playing for objectives like Urn Delivery or Walkers, while cleaning Vase, jungle creeps and sinners. Look for someone alone, approach with a smoke bomb, land Sleep Dagger and commit. Ultimate is optional here, just watch for the net worth of your target. You're not trying to start big fights, you're looking for control situations where you have the advantage. Late game is where Haze becomes real carry. With items, your DPS ramps much faster and your ultimate becomes much more dangerous. You can kill targets quickly if enemies group badly, or with the help of your supports or initiators, your ultimate can hit multiple people and decide fights. In terms of matchups, Haze is strong against squishy heroes and players who are out of position or without proper escape tools. Anyone who is alone is an easy target for you. She struggles more against heavy crowd control, so in those games you need to play slower and be more patient, waiting for someone to make a mistake. A few things that actually matter in the game: don't rush your Sleep Dagger, use it the time that it gives you. Don't waste your smoke bomb just to run, it's much more valuable for setting up plays or dispelling annoying stacks like Infernus Fire. Try to stay on one target in fights so your damage builds properly, and don't treat your ultimate like a panic button. It's strongest when used at the right moment, not just whenever it's available. And that's Haze, simple kit and very clear playstyle. You isolate target, take a clean fight, and scale nicely into the late game. She is easy to pick up, but if you want to consistently carry, it comes down to patience and experience. If this helped you out, consider subscribing for more Deadlock guides, and if you want to support the channel a bit more, you can check out the membership as well. Appreciate you watching and catch you in the next one.